G'day, we're Zoom and Betty, and we've hit a snag with the pumpkin patch we created in our last video. Let me explain.
We've had a thief come through the pumpkin patch, and it's left some evidence behind. Okay, so I know who it was because I saw it happen. We've had a family of magpies hanging around. There's been what I assume is a mum and a dad and a baby, and the baby is the main culprit. They've come through the pumpkin patch and they've started ripping things out. And you know what? They've ripped things out and they haven't even eaten them or taken them away. They just ripped them out of the ground and left them there. So that was awesome. So we started with 12 pumpkin plants throughout here and we're down to just 5. And one of them is not looking good for this world, but we'll see how it goes. Now, by the time we caught them pulling out the third one, I was like, that's just not stopping. So I grabbed some of this netting. It's actually not bird netting, it's just trellis that's meant for beans to climb up and stuff. So it's not really fit for purpose. I just chucked some stakes in the ground, and since this has gone in, it's kind of stopped them. I think they tried to have a couple more pecks at it once this went on, but they've gone away now. So hopefully they leave it alone. Now, another issue that we've dealt with since we've had these beds is that the soil we used, we mixed it in with some compost from the garden supplies, and we've used this soil before and it's been really good, but it's just appeared to be way too sandy this time. So we've had quite a bit of an issue with the water not going in and just running away. So today I've come through and added some more soil that's a bit more composty around the edges and mixed it in a little bit around the plants and then made a bit of a dam around, and this is so far working really well at helping maintain the moisture. So when I gave it a bit of a water, it didn't all just dribble down the edges now, it's actually sunk in really well, so that should hopefully help the plants out. So because that was a bit of a travesty, I've actually started some more seedlings that will hopefully be able to plant sooner rather than later. Hopefully they can catch up and maybe they'll come into production at different times, which will actually work out to be a good thing. But man, those magpies, cute, but no. In the orchard we've got this big bottle brush tree and it's pretty magnificent, but you can see on the ground they've kind of gone dry now, so it's not as bright, but there's a lot of the bottle brush on the ground, and that's from that same magpie just getting up there and ripping them out and just leaving them on the ground. So you can see here we've planted some more butternuts, some bohemians, more sugar, the Jackby little ones. We only had 3 left of those seeds, so that's all we've got going on there, and then we've just planted some lettuce and kale here, so just to fill out the tray a little bit more. So hopefully those little seeds don't take too long to turn into seedlings, and then we can get them out to the pumpkin patch as well. The heat is starting to warm up a little bit more. We're starting to have some warmer days and less cooler days, so I think the garden's just starting to take off now. So thought I might take you on a little whip around, because I feel like it's been a few weeks since we've had a touch base on what's going on in the veggie patch. So through this area here we've got potatoes going through all here. Now they're volunteer potatoes that were left over by the previous owners, and no matter how far we go through this and clean the beds out in between seasons, for some reason they still keep finding ways to pop back. So this is actually the most luscious that we've ever seen these growing, so I'm keen to see how many potatoes come out of it. In with that we've got some zucchinis growing. We've got some green zucchinis over there, and then we've got some yellow zucchinis through here, and they're just starting to come through as well. We've actually had quite a lot of the female flowers pop up, but not a lot of the male ones yet. I think we're just starting to see some of them come through, which means we can make them pollinate, and then they'll start actually growing properly, which is very exciting. On the other side you can see the nasturtiums. I still haven't cut them back. Every time I talk about it, Betty gets cranky at me for the idea of doing it, but it's really got to happen because it's starting to take over 2 beds now, so that's a bit crazy. Further down this direction we have some yellow squash growing through on that side. The yellow squash is like those little UFO type shaped ones, and they're just starting to pop up with some female flowers now, so they're not too far behind the zucchinis. Here we've got the leeks growing. We've actually only picked a couple of these, but you can actually see at this point they're growing so far that they're starting to flower. Now I haven't seen these flower before, so I'm actually quite excited to see how it turns out when they do pop. There's a few of them there, and now it's the first time letting them grow to this, so I'm not quite sure if they're edible, but if they're anything like the garlic ones that look quite similar, I know they've got a special name and I'll try to find it later on, but I know in the garlic they're edible, but I'm not quite sure if they are for here, so interesting to find out. Down in this area we've got the bloody beans growing, and they're starting to move now. They've been a bit of a slow starter, but we're starting to see more movement in the growth of these. But this one here that is struggling far behind the others, the reason for that is that this was the first little fella that got copped by the bloody magpie. I came down one day and the magpie was just sitting here with a leaf in his mouth that he'd just ripped off it, and he just dropped it and flew off. So since then this fella has really struggled. Bloody weeds. Can't keep on top of these. Actually, we are keeping on top of them a lot better than usual. But yeah, this particular fella has struggled ever since he got ripped. So he still seems alive and he still seems like there's a little bit going on there, but he's definitely not thriving like the other ones. Through here we've got some broccolis which are going a bit meh. I think they've been eaten a little bit by a lot of bugs, so we're just sort of letting them go at the moment. Don't think much is going to come from them. And same here with the mini cauliflowers. Behind the mini cauliflowers we've got some corn going. Those two were planted in punnets, and then there's some seeds that have just been popped down, but we haven't seen sight of them coming through yet, but it's only been a couple of days, so obviously that's a bit early for them anyway. We gave the chard a really good haircut the other day, and it's just bouncing back, and to be honest there's a lot of it that's going to flower, so it needs another haircut again. The broad beans got all unruly and I chopped a whole lot of them out. They're all looking pretty poor at the moment, but there is still a lot of beans on there. We've done a huge harvest, so this is very much definitely all in excess of what we really need. Over here we've got the artichokes going. Some of them are past the point of being able to have, but some of them are actually looking like they're probably at the right stage to pick. So I might actually cut some of them off and we'll see how we go. There's a couple of little baby ones that have gone down here near the beans, and they're just going rogue, those ones. We keep saying we should get rid of them, but I just kind of keep leaving them to see what happens. The barrage here is just like one of the big successes of the garden. It's just going nuts at the moment, and the bees are loving it sick. It started out super small. In fact, we started this from seed, and it didn't look like anything was happening for the longest time, but then suddenly it just started exploding, and it's just going crazy. Over at the trellis arch, we've got some snow peas growing on this side, and on the other side we've got tomatoes. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the tomatoes in this video because I'm actually going to show you a little bit of an experiment that I've been doing with tomatoes in the next video. So stay tuned for that. Here our snow peas starting to take off. We actually have one that was in there a little bit longer and he died. So I think it might have been another case of being ripped apart by birds because he definitely looks snapped at the bottom. So we've gotten rid of him and we've planted another one, and they look like they're just starting to take off now. Garlic grave continues to do well. I've been told it's still got a little bit longer left in it, which is what I expected, but I am definitely starting to see other people starting to pick theirs out, so I think that it's probably not too far away. Someone in the window is still very unimpressed about not being allowed outside. Poor little fella, he just doesn't understand about the snake. Speaking of Mr. Snakey, I haven't actually seen him in a few weeks, and we're kind of like suspicious that he might have left, but then we're suspicious that he might be just going out for the days and coming back in and staying because it seems like too good a hidey hole for him to just abandon. So we don't know. We caught sight of a blue tongue the other day, and that scared the bejesus out of me because I thought it was the snake just popping up beside me, but no, it was just the blue tongue hanging out. And I think there's definitely one that lives here. There might be a couple of them. We haven't quite determined it yet, but there's definitely one big blue tongue lizard that hangs around. So yeah, he frightened me thinking it was a snake the other day. They kind of hang out at around the agapanthus. I think he's got a little home under there. I chopped the absolute crap out of the grass near the agapanthus because it scared me every time I walked past that it was gonna be a snake coming out of there. So not as scary to roam around now.
The grapes are starting to grow now, and this seems to be a lot more than we had this time last year, so that's pretty cool. Now I've taken away the trellis that we had behind the berries as it snapped in the wind one day, but this temporary string solution is actually kind of nice. And here we have the pink icing blueberries. And these are our sylvan berries, which I've never eaten before. Some cherries growing over here.
Now there's a little bit going on in the greenhouse here. Some of it's to do with the tomato experiment, so I won't go into that too much. But we do have the capsicums and the eggplants going on down this side that are doing pretty well. And then down the bottom here we've also got some rock melons that are starting to grow. So kind of excited about getting them in the ground. They look like they're not far off.
So that's probably enough of an update for this episode. See you all in the next one, where I'll explain my random harebrained schemes that involve many, many tomatoes. Bye!